you might want to consider going to one college.
Now, Jim's already talked about phishing, so I'm not going to really talk too much about phishing because I think, Jim, you did a great job of explaining it. But I will share with you some stats that 30% of phishing messages get opened by targeted users, and 12% of them are opening these things. So the risk is relatively high. The way that people are able to present information in a really deceptive way that looks legitimate is really important to be aware of. And so these are the most common malicious attachment types. So you've got Office, Archive, PDF. But almost more important than this is, the number one types of documents. So the number one phishing type of document is a bill. So be on the lookout for bills from suppliers that you're not familiar with or that you're not working with, and don't click on those links. Email delivery failure is a really common one. And email is by far the most vulnerable piece of technology that you are using today. And a lot of the email that you guys are using, many of you aren't putting multi-factor on that email. So that is really important to do. Then we have legal and law enforcement. We've seen a lot of these, whether you can sort of lump CRA into there. That's been a big one over the last couple of years. These calls from CRA. And again, people are able to now leverage information that they've collected from data breaches to make that seem even more realistic. And then scanned documents, and lastly, package delivery, which was only about 3.9%, again, back in 2018. But I can tell you from personally anecdotal, the level of package delivery things that I've seen coming through my own personal email that I know are not valid. I order a lot of stuff, but I'm very well aware of every single package that's coming through my door. And you got to be careful of those. So, if you're not expecting a package, don't just assume that some random person has decided to mail you something without notifying you. So that's the high level on the phishing thing. So how are you going to protect and prevent these phishing attacks? So with users being the sort of weakest link in this chain, and end user training being one of the most effective ways to protect against phishing attacks, there are many ways to train users, but some of the most effective sort of revolve around annual and remedial training courses. Because as Jim said, even in that situation where they trained and then went through a potential test, they failed right after that test. So like many things, Jim, what's that quote you told me that Coca-Cola has about how many times they got to deliver a marketing message? It's like 27 times.
So there's something called effective frequency, and Coke and every other advertiser says you really haven't seen an ad until you've seen it 4 times in 4 weeks. So they buy what they call effective frequency, a weight of ads in a particular market or aimed at a particular demographic until they get to an average of 4 times in 4 weeks. So some people might be seeing it 16 times and some people none, but they assume you haven't seen it till you've seen it 4 times in 4 weeks. So, we do one training session and then think people have got it.
So we've got to think about that strategy when it comes to cybersecurity, reiterating this message over and over again. So what I can commit to is you're going to see more and more of these sessions from us, and we're going to come back to you with reminders about protecting the data. But getting into the common methods that you can actually use to prevent phishing and whaling attacks. And so, Jim, you talked about spear phishing. The other big thing that's coming up now is whale phishing, where they're targeting like the CEO or the president of the organization and impersonating that person. So there's this more perceived importance and credibility behind that person. So you're more likely to respond and provide that information. But basically, you never want to provide personal identifier information for yourself or members of your organization or clients. You want to verify the email addresses are actually authentic. You never want to click on any unknown links or downloads. You want to also avoid emails that insist you act now. So the fake sense of urgency is really something that they use a lot to try and create this, to play on your emotions effectively. Another great thing is to check for spelling and grammatical mistakes because, well, not all, but a lot of these cyber attacks are coming from outside of North America. I'm not going to name which countries. I think you all know where they're generally.
Russia.
Yeah, Russia, China, even India. I mean, there's a number of countries that are not natively English speaking. So grammar is a great thing to check for. And then sort of create additional authentication policies before obviously wiring, sending money, or might be as simple as requiring a phone call to authorize that payment. Or again, there's great tools out there that can create quality controls and quality assurances in your payment processes. And we'll do whole sessions on some of those tools out there that we use.